Hello everyone, how are you doing today? I'm quite happy to shoot this video today because I want to tackle a topic that is quite dear to my heart. So this is going to be a fun one, I think. Hence why I'm so excited to make this video. And I'm also quite thirsty, so I'm going to be sipping on that delicious Pagu strawberry juice. I can't find this when I'm in the UK anywhere, but it's you can find it in some shops here in France. So whenever I'm back home, you know, this is my go-to drink. It's really good. I'll have a sip now. All right. Okay. Enough faffing about. Let's get to the video. So you know, the other day I just realized that I have quite a few hobbies there and there, you know, like most people do, you know. You don't tend to stick to just one hobby. I would say my main hobby is probably music and playing guitar and all that stuff. But I have a few more other hobbies, you know, and one of them is reading comic strips. And the other day I just realized, I caught myself reading a comic strip. In bande dessinée, we say here in France, is how we call comic strip. It's a bande dessinée, which literally means drawn strip, like a comic strip, you know. But it's a different tradition here in France and in Belgium than in the US, for instance, where comic strips, you know, would be in the newspapers and all that kind of stuff, or mangas in Asia and Japan. Like that format is its own deal as well. But here I'm talking about bande dessinée franco-belge, you know, that became a big hobby of mine. So the type of comic strip that you specifically find in France and Belgium, since you can go as far back as the 30s, but mainly, you know, the stuff that was done in the 50s, 60s, 70s onwards until today. I feel like it's a very creative art form, and yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about that hobby of mine in this video. So that's just for the introduction, I guess, and also to give you further context. There's this nice little childhood memory of mine, and I remember as a kid, you know, we live in a small village here in France, in the countryside. I mean, there is a town not so far. You can drive there in 10 minutes, and it's like a small town with a cinema and a couple of supermarkets, you know. So I'm not in the middle of nowhere, but still, it's a small village, and you know, there's like it's how do you say? It's like a mosaic of villages around me, you know, with just fields and forests and woodlands and wilderness in between each villages. It's really cool, and I'll take you out there at some point, you know. Now that I'm back, that could be the nice opportunity to shoot videos in nice nature locations around my village. But anyway, so there is not that good of an access to culture things like cinemas or libraries or things like that. So they would, you know, the local authorities, I guess you could call them, they got this thing going that was called the bibliobus. So biblio is like bibliothèque, which is the French word for a library. In bibliobus is like a bibliobus, like a bus. And the idea was quite simple, was to have this bus that was driving around villages on every different day of the week. You know, there would be always bibliobus day for this village, you know, and the bus would come around and park somewhere in the village, and of course it was full of books and comic strips, bande dessinée. And my parents would take me and my older sister there quite a lot. So yeah, you know, I feel like I had a really happy childhood. So this is one of those memories, you know, that really cemented my imagination in this nice childhood time, you know. And yeah, most weeks we would go there with a big plastic box, I remember, and would get a bunch of comic strips. And we would lend them for the week and return them the next week. And then my sister and I would just like read all those comic strips, you know. And what I mean by comic strip, bande dessinée, is quite often it comes in this format here. So that's my collection. That's what brings me to this video, right? Is this childhood memory, I think, is what started, you know, what it was the spark to this little hobby of mine that I come back to every so often, which is, you know, reading comic strips and collecting them along the way, and building nice little memories along the way. So yeah, that's why I wanted to give some context with that bibliobus thing, you know. Yeah, and so hold on, I'm gonna have a sip of that delicious strawberry juice first. You know what? I'm still a little nervous shooting these videos, but I feel like it's true. When people say that, oh, if you stick to it, you'll get better, you'll get more comfortable, and I'm feeling this progress already, but it's still a little awkward at times, you know. Just shoot a video like that. Anyway, sorry, I digress. Let's go back to the main topic. And so this is my collection of comic strips. I'm very proud of it. I started it, oh my god, such a long time ago. I was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 when I started collecting my first comic strips. You know, there's a fair in the biggest city in the department where I live in France. There's a fair once a year. I mean, it's not the biggest city, but it's one of the big cities. And there's a comic strip fair once a year, and you can go there and get some second-hand comic strips or brand new ones, and meet some of the authors, you know, I can't pronounce that word, but the people, the drawers, you know, and you can ask them to draw something for you. It's really nice. So there's this whole culture ever since I was a kid, and it's I love this thing, you know. And then of course after I turned 18, I started to move around a bit more, and I wasn't in France as much. It was just maybe a couple of weeks, you know, 3-4 weeks a year. But still, within those 3 or 4 weeks per year when I would be back home, I would always come back to the comic strip, you know. So that it's not like it's a hobby that is gone. Not at all. It's more like dormant most of the time for me. And then I come back to it and I'm like, wow, this is great. Okay, so you know what I figured I would do in this video is just go through some of my personal favorite of comic strips of my collection, and maybe I don't know, I'll just freestyle, and maybe I'll think of some anecdotes along the way. You know, where did I get the comic strip, or things like that, or things about the art itself. Because it's such a creative art form, I think. In the dialogues, of course, but the drawings, of course, the use of colors. There's the cinema aspect of comic strips as well. It's very visual, you know, and once you start paying attention to these aspects of the art form, it's I know it sounds very like or you know, intellectual, and feel like, oh, I don't want to intellectualize it. That's what I mean. It's not what I'm trying to say, but it is beautiful when you start looking at these different aspects beyond the simple factor of, oh, I'm having a good time just reading a comic strip and enjoying a nice little story. Okay, let's start with the top maybe. That's my little Bart Simpson's minifigure, because I have a few Simpsons comic strip. It's American, I think. It's not the best. It's not my favorite style of drawing, but you know, good memories. Like, you know, comic strip style, like American style, with the Simpsons, and I'm a big Simpsons fan. So when I was a kid, I would collect these. And yeah, let's see what's next. This is just, you know, this is something I got along the way. I can't even remember, but I'm very lucky to have been able to collect all these comic strips for so many years. It's good fun, you know. And all this chunk you see here, these are all the Lucky Luke comic strips. It's from the series Lucky Luke, which is the French sounding of Lucky Luke, you know. And Lucky Luke is a cowboy in the wild, wild west. And each comic strip is another adventure where he has to, you know, he has trouble with the local outlaws like the Dalton brothers and Jesse James and all that, you know. And I think it's the comic strip series of that franco-belge bande dessinée, you know, bubble thing. It is the series with the biggest output, I think. I think it's over like 150 comic strips. Don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure, but it's above 100. So there's so many. It's really impressive, quite impressive body of work. And so every so often when I find one in a fair or in a supermarket or whatever, I sometimes I get one and it keeps growing, So it's really cool. Try to see. This is one of my favorites. It's the one of Jesse James. So here is Lucky Luke, right? And that's Jesse James. And what I really love about Lucky Luke, is the use of colors. Of course, the dialogues and the humor it's all very top notch. It's from the golden era of bande dessinée franco-belge, in the 60s, and this time when there was a big revolution in the art form. The style of drawing changed drastically, and dialogues and all that. But for Lucky Luke, what was very interesting was the use of colors. I'll try to find an example here. Sometimes you would see yeah, here you go, perfect example. I don't know how well you can see that, but you see those characters, they're just plain orange and the background is yellow for no reason at all. It's very odd, but it works. You don't even realize it until you do. You have to pay attention to those details, to like, oh, this is weird. But when I was a young kid, I would read all those Lucky Luke comic strips, and I never noticed that very, very odd use of colors. Sometimes, not always, of course. See here, the drawing style is quite magnificent if you pay attention to it. Like all the exaggerated the facial features. This is a very common aspect of this style of comic strip. But yeah, the use of color is very. Here is another example. They're all in blue with an orange background. Anyway, this is something that I always found cool about Lucky Luke. It's almost psychedelic in a way, Very strange. Maybe he was a, how do you say, when the guy who drew Lucky Luke, his name is Maurice. Maybe he was a Daltonian. Is that what you say, when you can't really perceive colors the same way other people do, like colorblind? Sorry. Yeah. I'm mixing up my French and my English. This is a Raon. It's another great collection. I would read those when I was around 11, 12 years old. And it's a completely different style, which way more realistic. The features like that, and it talks about this guy Raon, and it's during the Stone Age, and you follow his adventures. What is just, he's wandering around in the jungle, and he's a solitary traveler, and sometimes he encounters tribes of other primitive humans, because this was all during the Stone Age. They speak differently as well, and yeah, it's just the drawing style is very cool. I think very realistic, completely different from Lucky Luke. So already there you can see the gap and how things change. Now the next one, this other big chunk of white you see here, of white, a block of white from all the comic strips stacked up. I don't think it needs any introduction. Of course, it's Asterix and Obelix. Honestly, I think like everything's been said about Asterix. It's just great. What more can I say? It's some of the best. It's like prime example of the best bande dessinée franco-belge can do is right there. The play on words and the dialogues, the use of colors, just the drawing style. This is the first one, Astérix le Gaulois, but the drawing style evolved quite a lot in those early years. Same thing, it's from the golden age, a bit like Lucky Luke, 50s, 60s kind of stuff. Beautiful, just I love Asterix. And here these are like the minifigures of Boule et Bill. So Boule et Bill is another classic. This is Boule, this is Bill, his little cocker dog. And just cute one-page gags, I haven't read these in ages. Maybe I will in the coming days. This is like motivation, So it's just one page, one gag. And it's quite, it's a bit childish, but very cute. Really nice stuff. I I remember I used to read those when I was quite young, like 8, 9, 10 years old. That was like a classic. And I think the big deal with this one when I got it was that it was one of the first comic strip in France in the late 2000s that was made with recycled paper, which I remember blew my mind at the time. I was what, maybe 8, 9 years old when I got this at Easter from my grandma, and I was mind blown. Like, yo, it's from recycled paper. Oh, that's another one that I need to talk about briefly on this video because it deserves a mention. It's Gaston Lagaffe, of course, by Franquin, one of the best guy to ever do it. I mean, of course, one of the best. All those superlatives. What's the point anyway? It's not a competition, but or a contest. You know what I mean? But he belongs in that golden age of bande dessinée franco-belge with a very unique drawing style. Because he worked on Spirou et Fantasio as well, which is another big franchise. Okay, I don't know, not series, of comic strip, a bit similar to Tintin, And Franquin worked on it for a little while in the 70s, I think, or 60s. I can't remember. But he was part of multiple big projects in that world, So here you can see the drawing style. Very, I don't know how to explain, very fluid. If you see the cat here, there's a lot of movement in that drawing style. It's quite fascinating, really. Anyway, if we're going down a level now, I have a few compilations of my superhero comic strips. I was a big fan of early Spider-Man when I was a bit younger. I think I was 14, 15 when I would read those. So, they're just compilations you find here in France, in French, of those OG superhero, comic strips with Spider-Man against Doc Ock or the Green Goblin, And that was just great for the nerd guy that I am, I'm not going to go through all of them, of course, just a few that are the highlights of my collection. That's a big chunk, of course. It's right in the center as well, because I feel like that was my favorite series growing up as a kid. It's Tintin, of course, everyone knows Tintin. Here's a little minifigure of Tintin. And it's the whole collection. Basically, my grandparents, they would gift me one Tintin album. We call them album, album de bande dessinée is how you say in French. But it's, I don't know how you say it in English, but it's one unit, one comic strip, an album. And I would get 2 of these for Easter every year, and so slowly but surely I was building the collection thanks to my grandparents. And there it is, sitting here in the middle. It's great because every album, every unit, I don't know how you say it, you know what I mean, is another adventure. And the drawing style is, again, very unique, very precise. I mean, look at that. It's just gorgeous. The use of colors and all that. It's just gorgeous, and it looks almost like a 2D effect. I did not attend art school, so I don't have the technical words, the jargon to describe all of what I'm talking about. But it's has this almost like a 2D effect the way it's drawn, but still, of course, there is perspective and depth. But it's the use of colors, So Tintin, of course, is a big influence. There's also controversies. Some of these early stuff that were first published in the first iteration in the 30s or 40s. Tintin au Congo, of course, is clearly has a racist comment. How do you say? There's it's a racist ideology that's depicted in Tintin au Congo because it was drawn by Hergé, the author, in the 30s. When the Congo, what is now the Democratic Republic of the Congo, was a colony of Belgium, and Hergé is from Belgium, and there's all these controversies. Of course, it is right there. I can show you. Oops, that's the infamous Tintin Congo. It's not like It's not like they say like slur or like that kind of racist thing. It's more like the racist ideology of like ideology of the white man, you know, who has all the knowledge, um, and is the king in the colony, and all of the people in the colony, you know, like that kind of racism. So pretty despicable. But I feel like it is interest. It's an interesting read for historical perspective, and also when you take some distance from it and you understand what is problematic about it, you know, it can also be beneficial. But anyway, we're not going to linger on too long about this one. But most of the later adventures are really, you know, it's not right. It's not always problematic like the early stuff was. Here's a classic one, you know, where Tintin is going on the moon. So yeah, that was a big deal for me growing up. Tintin, and then I started collecting some rarities, like those smaller editions of Tintin. It's the same thing but smaller, like traveling size, you know. Put it back later on. I would even draw little Tintin cars and shit like that, you know. What else is there on this level that's interesting? Oh yeah, that's one. That is a good one. 10 Petits Insectes. I used to love this comic strip growing up as a kid. I remember my parents, they introduced me to Harvest, you know, the album by Neil Young. And that's when I got the comic strip. Can't remember where from, a fair or something like that. And I was listening to the Neil Young album, must have been around 11. So I attach vivid memories like of music and this special kind of happiness, you know, with this one comic strip. It's basically a parody of the Agatha Christie novel. I can't remember the title of it, you know, but when there's 10 potential suspects for a crime and they're all stuck in a mansion or something like that, and the detective has to find out who did the murder. So it's a parody of that, but with insects on in a manor on an island, right? Very odd, very strange drawing style. Look at that. Very unique, you know. The style is just great. And I remember I was so impressed with it. The use of color, once again, you see, it's like there's no rule in this art form. It's like, oh, if you want to paint most of the background just plain blue, just do it, you know, and you add depth and all that. It's quite masterfully done. I even remember drawing the manor as a kid. You see, I kept it all these years. That's crazy for me to take a look at these things, you know. It's like a flood of memories rushing in. But it's nice. It's good stuff. Oh, oops. Sorry, Tintin fell to his demise. Oh, Reiser is another great artist from my region, actually. And it's more targeted for grown-ups, you know, more of an adult audience. Because so far this was like more for children, although you can of course also appreciate it as an adult. But on the lower section, it's more like a sense of humor that's a bit more bittersweet, acid, a bit more, you know, for grown-ups, you know. So we're gonna get there in a second. Well, actually, I have a few comic strip in English for a change. And my sister gifted me this comic strip a couple of Christmases ago, The Philosopher, the Dog, and the Wedding. And yeah, it's about this Greek philosopher. She was the first woman philosopher. I can't ever pronounce her name. Hipparchia, something like that. And yeah, it's a graphic novel, I think they call it, not a comic strip. But it was an interesting read. That's like an old flatmate, an old friend of mine. She was my flatmate in Unidome in Edinburgh, and we made like a secret Santa, you know, and she wanted to gift me this Beatles, early Beatles years comic strip, and I love the Beatles, of course. So that's quite fun. And it's from she's from Helsinki. No, is she? What am I talking about? Where's Helmi from again? Come on, man. No, she's from Finland, of course. She's Finnish, and it's a Finnish author who did this Beatles comic strips. So pretty neat. Anyway, I think I want to wrap up this video quite soon because it's dragging on and it's probably gonna be quite long. And also, I get a bit nervous. My English is going downhill the longer I speak, you know. But yeah, I'll show you some more, a few more. That's my Garfield collection in French. Again, you see, like, this is just a compilation of the American stuff that you would find traditionally find one strip in the newspaper, right? But here's like a compilation of all of them in an album format that's suitable for the French market and the Belgian market, I suppose. And so I have a few of these because Garfield is, you know, I like this kind of humor. I think it's pretty cool. It's a bit different, you know. I even have my Garfield minifigure to go with it. And so yeah, this is my little collection. Which one is my favorite again? It's La Haine du Lundi. Yeah, that's the one. I love the cover. I think the cover looks neat. And it has some fur as well on Garfield to add to the realistic effect. It's pretty neat. It means hatred for Monday, which I fully agree with. I hate Mondays, they just suck, don't they? But yeah, it's a really cool comic strip. I think I'll leave it on the side for now, because I want to give it a reread, you know? There we go. Oh yeah, okay, this is some good stuff. Hold on. Les Fables avec du poil is fairly recent. I think this was made in 2015, 2016. Again, it's just like Bully Bill, but in way different sense of humor. It's one page, one gag, but it's just over the top, gruesome and graphic for comedic effect. And that's typically what I mean. This is not targeted for a younger audience. It's typically more for grown-ups, you know, funny shit. Like, and this is not even the worst. Hold on, let me see if I can find some crazy. Yeah, there you go. No, maybe not that one. They're nuts. Hold on. Try to find something that's, because, like, you know, it's like pretty graphic sense of humor. Yeah, here's one. Like a psychopath wandering about in the house, and you know, it's anyway. It's hard to explain, and it's probably not funny the way I'm showing it to you right now. But it's just, you know, graphic and gory and extreme, and it gets funny. Okay, I'll put it back, but I want to show you this great graphic novel. It's by a Canadian from the Quebec region. The author, sorry, is Canadian. He's from the Quebec region. His name is Michel Rabigliati. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. And he drew this series of graphic novel. It's the Paul series. Paul for, you know, Paul is the how you pronounce the name Paul in French. It's Paul, or in Quebecois, you know. And so it's a graphic novel again. Very unique drawing style, and it just follows this character, Paul. It's like this young guy, and it's very moving. It's very beautiful. It's delicate. It's funny as well. So, you know, I have two of those. And they're really great. I love these, you know. Oh, I'll put it back. Maybe a few more and then I'll stop the video because there's quite a lot going on here. But it's really fun, you know. Even right now I'm enjoying making this video and going through all of these different albums and all the memories, and it's great, man. It's a cool hobby. And if for those of you who are still watching this video, probably not many people, but oh, you know, whatever. Well, for those of you who are watching, if you're ever in the France area, check them out in supermarkets, or they're always comic strip fairs, you know, and you can check them out, or flea markets, you know, are great for that too, because it's good fun, you know. There's good stuff going on. That's another highlight. It's some guy I didn't really like in high school who actually gifted this to me. It was our way to make peace, I guess. Really, really great graphic novel It's not. I wouldn't say it's bande dessinée. It's more a roman graphique, a graphic novel. And it's about this guy Tyler Cross, and he's El Bandito. He's a proper gangster, and it takes place in the '60s. The story, and it's just insane. So cool. Look at that. And yeah, it's just very, very cool gangster story type of comic strip. One of my favorites. Oops, I dropped something. What more is there to show? There's a few of these comic strips that have been dedicated by their author. For instance, if I'm taking Nelson, is a pretty famous in France, a pretty famous comic strip, more modern. Here you go. I have the little drawing from the author. I have a few like that. It's quite good. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there for now, guys. Thank you for watching. If anyone is watching, and I'll see you around. Peace, love, and music as per usual. And yeah, Bande dessinée franco-belge. Check it out. It's good fun. All right.